Hello, and welcome to Presenting, a podcast where we chat about various topics related to role playing games, typically Paizo products such as Pathfinder and Starfinder, but also others. I'm John Godek, and today with me is Karee Vogrin. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, Karee is the founder of Critical Hit Cookies, as well as an avid tabletop RPG player. In addition to crafting cookies and selling them through criticalhitcookies.com, she also has joined the Order of the Amber Die in their Abomination Arsenal Marathon. And she also plays in the True Crit Outlaws of Alkenstar Pathfinder 2e stream on Twitch. 2 years ago, she was a guest blogger on the No Direction Network, where she wrote about how to start a gaming themed business. And you can reach Karee on Twitter at Karee, Karee, Vogrin, Vogrin, or on her website, www.criticalhitcookies.com. So, Karee, can you talk about Critical Hit Cookies and how you got started making cookies for gamers in the first place?
Basically, I've been a baker my entire life, but I came to gaming very late. I've only really been gaming for maybe 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started playing. The first thing I ever played was D&D 5th Ed. And I
Mm-hmm.
played one session and loved it. And then based on that, I went to Gen Con. And
Wow.
I think it was like
Based
Gen
on one
Con.
game. Yeah.
For pretty much, I was
Yeah.
very into
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
so I went to Gen Con and I met Adam Smith, the GM of Order of the Amber Die, and we happened to just meet randomly at a food stall and spent an hour talking. And I was very into gaming and very excited to be there. And when I saw the elaborate setups that they were doing, I was
Mm-hmm.
really geeked about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they do is they do marathon sessions. So they're gaming for 3 or 4 days at a time. And I offered to send them cookies for the marathons. And that was like the first start of me, feeding gamers.
Right.
And they were very into the cookies and, still are. And I got my website up and running. And so now I get orders in through, the website, which I have an app on my phone. So I'll, be alerted every time a new order comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I will either have stock or need to make the cookies then and, bake them off and ship them out. All of my cookies are individually packaged. That's one of the things that I do to make sure that they last because I'm
Right.
shipping them.
Right.
And then they're all hand packed with, bubble wrap and crinkle paper to try to make sure that there's no breakage or anything like that going on.
Right. Right.
And then we ship them out. And most things are, 2 to 3 days, depending on where you're located.
Mm-hmm. And do you typically make them in big batches? You mentioned if we have some in stock or if we have to make. So do you have a big batch for when an order comes in, then you have some left over for stock, or you only do like make to order?
I do batches, but then I freeze the dough. So everything is
Ah,
fresh baked.
got it. Got it. Got
So
it.
all the cookies are freshly baked as they're shipped out.
Mhm. That makes
And then
sense.
I have a lot of freezer space.
Yes. Yes. Wow. And do you, how do you ship them? I'm kind of curious. You mentioned the packaging. Is it UPS, FedEx,
I
Priority
actually use the
Mail?
postal service.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like their priority mail.
Yeah.
So it normally gets there. Most places are 2 days, some are three.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool.
And you can choose if you want a different carrier on the website. If you have
Right.
you want to specify what your thing is, but we've never had a shipment that was lost. And
Mm-hmm.
most, we haven't had complaints about delays or anything like that. So it's worked out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you're in Pennsylvania. Can local people swing by and pick them up, or do you discourage that?
It's not necessarily conducive. I don't have like a separate storefront. So
Right.
it's all out of my home.
But if they make an order, though, and they want to pick them up
Yeah, I
as they're
mean,
driving
it's
by, I
it's
don't know.
it's officially possible, but I've never had
Okay.
anyone like stop by unless they were like actually a friend who was picking up an order.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. How close are you to? So you said you went to Gen Con. So how close are you to like Indianapolis or like Columbus for Origins and stuff?
Um, I'm just outside of Pittsburgh, so I'm like 6 hours from Indianapolis and 3
Okay.
hours from Columbus.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So not super close, but not too far for things.
Right,
And
totally drivable.
yeah. And have you gone to Origins? I'm just kind of curious to set up
I
a
actually
cookie
Origins is
stall.
the one that I have not gone to yet. So I've gone to PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia a number
Right.
of times, but I
Hmm.
haven't yet managed to get to Origins.
Oh, I actually like Origins a lot. It's like a mini Gen Con, for all the things they do and the vendor booths and things. Um, have you set up a vendor booth at a convention, or you strictly do it by mail?
I strictly do it by mail, mostly because I looked into it for PAX Unplugged, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't let me bring food into the convention center because they have
Oh,
licenses
right, right.
with vendors, and so
Yeah.
they would not let me bring in outside food.
Wow. Yeah, I did not think. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, probably. Hmm. I wonder if you could even do that at PaisaCon. Well, no, PaisaCon's only online now, so I
right.
guess you can't.
I went to PaizoCon last year,
Yeah.
and instead what I do at conventions is I tend to bring a stock of cookies and just hand out cookies to the people I meet and talk to.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just distributing cookies,
Yeah.
as a way to get the because I figure once someone tastes the cookies, they'll be they're more likely to actually order them as opposed to just seeing the pictures. So I
Right.
was just handing out cookies to everyone I saw.
Well, Alex Agunas did a really nice review on your cookies, and actually, when I showed my wife your website with the cookies, she said they looked really good and rich. So I think they do some good justice to the nature of them. They look good size and very rich. What's the top selling cookie amongst gamers? What do people like the best?
Our top selling cookie is our salted caramel chocolate chip pretzel blondie.
Okay, okay, and that's actually one of the ones that Alex had tried as well. I remember in there. What is that though? I don't know what that is.
A blondie is like a brownie, but there's no chocolate in it. So it's
Okay,
more of like brown sugar caramely
okay,
taste.
got it, got it.
And then, as I said, there's caramel in it,
Yeah,
pretzels, and chocolate chips.
okay. And are the pretzels all crunched up as part of it, or are they kind of bigger
They're
pieces?
like kind of loosely, smashed. So like whole pretzels would be too big, but you could
Right.
have like a half size pretzel and they're all different sizes as they're kind of
Okay.
just crumbled up.
Yeah, I think pretzels and chocolate are really kind of a neat mix. We do pretzel hugs at Christmas, where you kind of melt a
Yes,
Hershey's
I know
Kiss or a
exactly
hug.
what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, and just that flavor, the pretzel with the chocolate is really really nice. Um, so when you're preparing the cookies, you mentioned how you package them. Do you, because they're being shipped out 2 to 3 days, do you have a change up the recipe at all from what you normally might do if you're just giving it to somebody fresh that day? Like, is there some different ingredient or something you might put in?
There's nothing that we do preservative wise
Right.
because I want to keep it as, fresh and natural as
Sure.
possible. Not, you know what I mean by natural without a lot of chemicals added in.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And so it just basically they're pretty good 2 or 3 days out, but beyond that they probably dry out a little bit, I
The
imagine.
No, actually, they tend to last, particularly if you'll put them in the fridge or if you freeze them. They
Yes.
actually will last like 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
They the cookies, the sugar-free ones tend to have a shorter shelf life because the sugar
Mhm.
acts as a preservative, a natural preservative.
Oh, okay.
And so when
Okay.
they're sugar-free ones, they'll last a little less,
Hmm.
but they'll also all the cookies can be refrigerated and frozen
Hmm.
and they can last for weeks like that.
Yes, I am a big fan of frozen cookies. My wife, she used to bake quite a bit of cookies at Christmas time, and we put them all in the freezer as we were kind of stocking them up to then plate them and give them away. And I would just love to grab them out of the freezer and eat them frozen. So I know they keep for a while. Wow. So moving away from the cookie business, I'm very excited. I know one baker, but they're a French baker, so I don't know any cookie bakers. So that's why I'm kind of curious about some of these things. And again, we can talk more offline if you want to talk more business and marketing stuff.
Okay.
Um, I am curious about the Order of the Amber Die because that seems like this, this secret kind of group. And I mean, to get into it, that seems like such a challenging thing. Do they have a secret recruiting or initiation ritual you had to go through in order to join, or is it just
Um,
give enough cookies and you get in?
no, actually, in order to officially join them, you need to game with them for 100 hours. That
Oh,
is their criteria.
wow,
So it's 100
wow,
hours of gaming.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And is that because the marathons are basically gonna be like that, and so they wanna make sure you all get along for that amount of time?
Pretty much, because it's not, it's all in the GM's house. And
Mhm.
so you have a lot of people that are in one room for, obviously we go out to sleep and whatever, but you
Yeah.
have a lot of people for, 10, 12, 15 hours a day just locked, in the living room. And
Wow.
there's little breaks for food and whatever, but basically it's intense.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
they want you, they figured 100 hours would see how well you gel with a group, and
mhm.
if you can deal with the marathon, lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. So you must be a marathoner then to be able to make that 100 hours.
I wasn't entirely sure if I could do it, and I
Yeah.
actually like set a goal for myself of gaming that many hours a day at Gen Con. So I like signed up for 3 sessions
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for multiple days, and
yeah,
I was like trying to see if I could do it on my, just if I could, how I would deal with that much gaming.
yeah.
And I actually love it.
Wow. You are a better person than me. I don't think I could do 3 sessions a day every day at Gen Con. I went to the last live Gen Con before the pandemic,
Mhm.
and I might have done 9 or 10 sessions, but I didn't. I got breaks in there, and some were GMing, some were playing and stuff. I cannot. When I was younger, we did all this marathon stuff, and I'm a bit on the older end for gamers now, so it's uh, I like my sleep a little bit too much, I guess. Um, so when you did the 100 hours, was this in person or online with them?
It's all in person. They only game in person.
Wow.
So we had the first thing that I gamed with them was for the Slithering,
Right, right,
which
right.
was written by Ron Lundeen.
Yeah.
He With that we had, 2 marathons. They split it in 2 sessions, and then we gamed. I think total it was like 78 hours of play or so
Hmm.
for the 2 sessions, and then I joined their current project, which is the Abomination Vaults,
Hmm.
calling it the Abomination Arsenal.
Yes.
And their project, it's a 6 marathon project, and we've played our first 2.
Wow. And can you talk about I can guess why it's the Abomination Arsenal, but can you talk about why it's the Abomination Arsenal and what that's about?
Actually, it's because our party is all gunslingers.
Yes, that's what I was guessing.
So it's a
Yeah.
party of all gunslingers and how they
Yeah.
deal with doing a standard dungeon crawl.
Yeah. Wow. And how far are you into the vault now?
We basically have cleared levels 1 and 2, most of level 3, and we just leveled up to we just for our next session we'll start at level 4. So
Okay.
we went down to level 4 enough to, and cleared enough
Right.
of level 3 to level up, but
Right. Yeah, I'm actually playing for now it's like over a year because we don't do marathons. I've been playing Abomination Vaults GM by Ron Lundeen, and I think we just started on the 6th level, so we're a little bit ahead of you. And it gets weirder and weirder as you go down. That's all I'm gonna say. So I can imagine with gunslingers though, man, that would be a lot of fun. Now, uh yeah, yeah, I can't fathom.
there are
I'm
some
not.
things we do
Yeah.
really well, and there are some
Yes.
things that we seriously struggle with.
Yeah, I think the nature of the Abomination Vaults, it's like just a lot of critters you gotta fight that gunslingers would do pretty well. And again, I haven't been all the way down to the lowest level,
Right.
which yeah was way down there. But yeah, no, that sounds pretty cool. And how frequently do you all do these marathons?
We are averaging right now 3 marathons a year.
Okay,
So
okay.
there's it's not that bad. At In a project that I was not a part of years ago, they had their toughest marathon, or their most toughest schedule was one a month. And
Hmm.
they did 6 months, and they finished all of, I think that was Giant Slayer.
Wow. And the marathon is each day you're doing how many hours?
It depends on the individual marathon. Some are 3 days, some are 4 days, and it's averaging 10 to 15 hours of gaming a day.
Wow, very cool, cool. Yeah, I think that would be fun to try once. I don't know like if I could do it a whole bunch though. Yeah, just getting the time off and traveling to
Oh yeah,
Pennsylvania and or
it's
I know.
definitely a commitment.
Yeah, where are they located? I just it's not Pennsylvania. It's somewhere else, isn't it?
It's Jersey, so they're
Jersey.
actually right
Okay.
outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah. So good. That's not so bad at all. All right. Well, man. Um, do they have what's lined up next after the Abomination Arsenal? Have they talked about that
They
yet?
are still discussing exactly what the next project is going to be.
Hmm.
Possibly Iron Fang back to 1E,
Oh, okay.
but it's not really been officially decided what all they're going to do yet.
Hmm.
They're still
Hmm.
running it around because they have another, you know, 18 months or so to figure it out.
Right, right. And do they actually use the amber dye for all the games, or is that it now kind of put it on a pedestal in a
Oh
glass
no, no,
case kind
no.
of thing?
When when Adam wants to when he wants to, really get someone in a fight, he always
Yeah.
pulls out the amber dye. So he does
Okay.
use it. I mean, it's not used every single time
Okay.
because like all gamers, he varies his dice depending on,
Right.
what the enemy we're fighting or whatever. He'll vary what dice he used, but when he wants to, when he's looking to really nail somebody, he pulls out the amber dye.
Right. And how old is that die? I mean, is it so apparently they started like in 87? Is it that old?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
And it has like
Wow.
mysterious origins where it
Yeah.
ended up in his dice bag and he thought it was a friend's die and the friend denied that it was his die and it just kind of ended up in his
Wow.
dice bag. And so there's mysterious origins, and thing that the amber die does is it chains natural 20s together so it'll
Right.
roll, 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So, once you're in trouble, you can be in serious trouble.
I would think I can see now why they don't use it all the time because like the dice I had from back then became balls, right? They became completely round. So I imagine they have to be has to be very judicious in his use of the amber die.
Oh yeah,
So
you can see it. I mean, it looks
yeah,
worn. It still
yeah,
rolls or whatever, but you can tell that it's an old dice.
yeah. Wow. So, what advice do you have for people interested in starting a gaming themed business? Now, you wrote a whole blog about this. You don't have to
Right.
say the whole thing, and I'll direct people to that blog. But do you have, some little bits of advice that you've picked up along the way that you think would be really helpful to get out to people?
Well, my main advice is never think that just because, it doesn't seem like a natural fit that it can't work.
Hmm.
If that's your hobby and you love two things, they can be combined together into you can create a business. I mean, I started this thing and I had no idea how it would go and I didn't know if anyone else would be able to see my vision.
Hmm.
And when I started putting pictures on social media of, dice being the PCs with, little accessories and fighting
Right,
battles on maps. And I thought people would think I was crazy because I because it was just pictures of cookies with swords.
right, right,
But,
right.
they got a lot of attention and people really liked them.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's entirely possible that things that don't seem like they relate can work together really well.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So, taking your passion and turning it into more than a hobby and a business is something that it's possible even when they seem very disparate in their nature.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. So what's next for Carrie? What kind of cool things are you working on, outside of baking new flavors of cookies, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm constantly doing that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love the most about
Yeah.
constant experimentation. I'm, I mostly at this point play Pathfinder and Starfinder, and I love them both, and I
Hmm.
always want to play them. But
Hmm.
one of the things that I'm looking is I have all these clients from different gaming companies.
Right.
And so I want to try playing some of their products and expand what all I'm doing.
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
necessarily stop the Paizo stuff because I love it too much, but I
Right.
want to try and they're supporting me and I want to support them and check out what all they do.
Hmm.
So there's several on my list of okay, I need to now try their product.
Mm. Do you have a lot of people that play, say, 5e that buy your cookies as well?
I do. I mean, it's because it's basically everyone at your a lot of people in the Paizo world know me by now. I've
Right.
met a lot of the staff members
Hmm.
and it's known that I exist
Right.
basically. And they say, "Come to Paizo, we have cookies." No, literally, we have cookies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And but it is one of the things that, it's not just Paizo fans. That
Right.
it is
Right.
spreading out to, other gaming companies, other gaming systems.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Very cool. Well, Carrie, it's been great getting a chance to meet you and learn more about Critical Hit Cookies and Order of the Amber Die. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today.
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.